Good morning. Box 3N. So Kelly's traveling by train with her soccer team to Yonkers, New York from Morgantown, West Virginia for a tournament, and the distance between Yonkers and Morgantown is 400 miles. So let's draw this out. Yonkers to Morgantown is 400 miles. Oh, and the total trip will take 8 hours. Okay, the train schedule is provided below. So if she's leaving Yonkers, the team will go to Morgantown, which is 400 miles away, but there's other towns along the way at pretty regular intervals. And then when they leave Morgantown to come back to Yonkers, they would, of course, pass those towns in opposite order. So let's create a little T-chart with that information. So let's do their picture. Yonkers to Allentown is 100 miles. From Allentown to Carlisle is another 100. From Carlisle to Berkeley Springs is another 100. And from there to Morgantown is another 100, making 400 total. Okay? So now, if they start out in Yonkers and they go to Allentown, they go 100 miles. Then they go to Carlisle, it's another 100 miles. Then to Berkeley. Then they get to Morgantown. They do their little tournament, but then they've got to turn around and come back. So from Morgantown, then back to Berkeley would be another 100 miles. Carlisle, another 100 miles. Allentown, another 100 miles. And back to Yonkers, the final 100 miles. Now, we knew some information from above. To go 400 miles took how long? 8 hours. Okay, 8 hours. Curious, if it takes 8 hours to go 400 miles, how long will it take to go 800 miles? Well, 400 is half of 800, so 400 times 2, 8 times 2 is 16. 16 hours on a train. Let's look for, instead of vertical relationship like we just did to get from here to here, and then from here to here, what if we look for that? How do we get from 400 to 8? I keep telling you guys, if you need to find this number, 400 divided by something equals 8, take 400 and divide it by 8, and that will tell you the number, 50. If I take 400 and divide by 50, let's test it. 400 divide 50, that's 8. Curious. If I want to know the hours, I take the miles and divide by 50, right? We've got to get good at translating the English words into math language. All right, well, what's 500 divided by 50? Oh, not 50 divided by 50. 10. Okay, 600 divide 50. 12. Well, these are all by hundreds, and these seem to be going by 2, and I know that 100 divided by 50 is 2. So every 100 miles is 2 hours. So every time we add 100 miles, we should add 2 hours. Okay. Could we put that on a tape diagram? Not a tape diagram, excuse me. A double line diagram. Sure. We're going to do it on the next page, so take a quick mental picture of that. And we'll put it here. Miles, hours. Let's see. Number of hours were 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. And then the miles went by 100. This is just proving that you know how to represent information in several ways. Question. If Kelly's train can go 100 miles in 2 hours, how many miles in 1 hour? How many miles in 1 hour? Well, let's look at the equation we wrote. We said if we wanted to know the hours, we took miles and divided by 50. But what if I want to know the miles? If I want to know the miles, how do I get from 2 to 100? 50 times the number of hours. So if I have 1 hour, substitute the value of your variable. 50 times 1 is 50. 50 miles per hour. How do you know? Well, we used our equation and we substituted 1 hour in for the hours and then we solved. Okay, now here comes the big part, right? So remember we did coordinate planes. Here's my x-axis. Here's my y. Time is usually x. Okay. Oh, and these are already labeled. This is handy. Hours will go down here. Miles will go up here. Okay. Let's see the question. Dinner service starts once the train is 250 miles away from Yonkers. What is the minimum time the players will have to wait before they can have their meal? Now, we could go back up here and solve it with our equation, putting 250 miles in for there, and then dividing, and that'll tell us the time. Or we could find 250 up here. Oh, 250 is halfway between. What's halfway between? A lot of different ways. We're just now going to learn another way, because at some time you might be presented with this way, and you want to be able to use it to your advantage. All right, so let's come up with some hours. 1 hour, 2 hour, 4 hour, 6 hour, 8 hour. That's the first 5 numbers that we have in our chart and in our double line diagram, and then the miles that went with them. 50, 100, 200, 300, 400. Ordered pairs? What are ordered pairs? Oh yeah, that's your x comma y. So we're going to need whenever you make ordered pairs, they're going to be inside parentheses, separated by a comma. Your x number first, then your y. And we already labeled hours as x and miles as y. Okay, now we need to get these things plotted on our coordinate plane. But notice that nothing's labeled. Like, it's not to scale, so now we have to come up with scale. So let's make some decisions. Let's say one of these lines is an hour. So there would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And you could go on. I don't think we're going to need to, but we can later if we need to. What should we have these be? I'm going to go, let me count them real quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Oh, about 25. I think we better do each line is worth 50. So if I skip a line, then I would have 100, 200, 300, okay, I'm going to stop there because I can do more later. And then let's plot these points. Over 1, up 50. Over 1, up 50. Over 2, up 100. Over 4, up 200. Over 6, up 300. Over 8, up 400. Okay, now remember, we're trying to figure out how many hours for 250 miles. I need a straight edge. We're going to connect these in as straight a line as possible. I mean, if you have a ruler, that's cool. Use that. I'm just going to use this pencil. Do the best I can with what I have. Well, that's pretty close. Okay, we've connected them, and then see how I extended it out? You'll see. You'll see. Okay, so we've got 250 miles. So we'll go up 250, go over where they cross, where this 250 line crosses the diagonal line we just drew, and then go down, and that'll tell us our number of hours. It'll take 5 hours to go 250 miles. Okay. How far can you go in 9 hours? So we'll follow the 9 line till we cross. And then we'll follow that line over, 450. 9 hours is 450 miles. Okay. Well, let's say you've traveled 150 miles. How long have you been traveling? Okay. 50, 100, 150 over to the diagonal. 3 hours. Okay, and that's how you can then use the line to extrapolate more information instead of the other methods that we learned. All right, so that's what you're going to do today in your problem set. Good luck.